Okay, today we're going to talk about a new kind of verb, the sort you have probably never heard of before. Something called a stem-changing verb. We're going to talk about, in particular, two different kinds, the U to UE and the O to UE stem-changing verb. But first, I'm going to explain to you what a stem-changing verb is and why it happens. What is a stem-changing verb? Normally, when you conjugate a verb, you are dealing with two parts, the stem and the ending. For example, if the verb is hablar, the stem is habl and the ending is ar. So the ending is the part you take off, and whatever's left over is the stem. So, for example, comer, the stem would be com, and the ending would be er. And vivir, the stem would be viv, and the ending would be ir. So, stem-changing verbs, then, are the kind when something in the stem, or that first half of the word, changes, as if you couldn't have figured that out by the name. This typically results in the stem being spelled differently than it normally would be. Now, when you conjugate, the endings will be the same as they always are. You don't have to change the second part of the verb, but you do have to change the first part. Okay, so there is pretty much only one U to UE stem-changing verb in Spanish, and that is jugar. Jugar means to play, which is very important for our chapter, so we'll start there. We'll just go down the conjugations, and first we'll talk about what you would think it would be, and then we'll talk about what it actually is or what its stem changes to. So, if you were conjugating this, like a normal verb, you drop the AR off the end, which would leave you with JUG, and then you would just put some endings on there. So, if this were a normal verb, it would be yo jugo. But that can't be the case, because jugo means juice, right? So since this is a U to UE stem changer, this U right here is now going to become UE. So, it becomes juego, Juego. Tu, we would think would be jugas, it becomes juegas, Juegas. Ella, usted, you would think would become juga, but that is not the case. It becomes Juega, juega. Now here's where it gets a little confusing. The nosotros and the vosotros do not stem change. So whatever change you were supposed to make, like throwing that E in there after the U, you will never do for the nosotros and vosotros. Doesn't matter what kind of stem changing verb it is, you do not ever change the nosotros and the vosotros stems. So, if you're thinking JUG, stick amos on the end, jugamos, you're correct. It is actually jugamos. For the vosotros, if you were thinking JUG, stick ais on the end of it, you would be correct. That is absolutely what it is. No stem change for the nosotros or the vosotros. However, when you get back down to ellos, ellas and ustedes, there is the stem change. Okay, that one definitely changes. So, you're thinking JUG, stick AN on the end, jugan, not correct. It is juegan, JUEGAN. Here are some example sentences using the verb jugar. Carlos juega al fútbol. Carlos plays soccer. Ellos juegan al baloncesto. They play basketball. ¿Tú juegas al béisbol? Do you play baseball? Yo no juego ningún deporte. I don't play any sport. Janitza y yo jugamos voleibol. Janitza and I play volleyball. You'll notice that because Janitza and yo, y yo would be nosotros, that I do not have to put an E there, so it's not juegamos, it's jugamos. Fermín y Rodolfo juegan al basquetbol. Fermin and Rodolfo play basketball. Now on to the second kind of stem changing verb. So now we have the O to UE stem changing verb. A great example of this is poder. Okay, so we'll do just like we did with jugar. If this were a normal verb, you just take off the ER, and you'd be left with POD, and you'd stick on some endings. So you might think it would be yo puedo, PODO. That is not correct. What it actually is yo puedo, PUEDO. You would probably be thinking, if it were two, you would just take off the ER and stick on an ES, podes. That is not correct. Instead, you will take that O and change it to a UE, making it puedes. El, ella, usted, you might have thought it was pode. It's not the case. It's going to be puede, P-U-E-D-E. And just as I mentioned before, the nosotros and the vosotros do not stem change. So you will not change these from O to UE. You will leave them just O like they always have been. Okay, so if you thought it was podemos, you'd be right. It is in fact podemos. If you thought it was podéis for vosotros, you'd be right. It is in fact podéis. However, please recall that when you go back to ellos, ellas, and ustedes, you go back to doing whatever the change is. So this one will go from O to UE. So it's not poden, it's pueden. Unlike jugar, which is pretty much all by itself, there are a ton of other O to UE verbs. These are just a small sampling of the ones that exist. These are the ones you're most likely to come across in everyday conversation and also in Spanish 1 class. So there's dormir, which means to sleep, poner, which is to put, acostar, which is to go to sleep, encontrar, which is to find, almorzar, which is to eat lunch, contar, which is to count, doler, which is to hurt, volver, which is to return, and mover, which is to move. Here are some example sentences for you. Yo duermo 8 horas cada noche. I sleep 8 hours every night. No puedo encontrar mi mochila. I can't find my backpack. Ella almuerza con sus amigos. She eats lunch with her friends. Ellos cuentan el dinero. They count the money. Tú mueves el ratón. You move the mouse. Mi madre se acuesta a las 9. My mother goes to bed at 9. That covers your first two types of stem changing verbs, the U to UE, which is only jugar, and the O to UE, which has a lot of different verbs that stem change that way. We will also learn later some other kinds, but these are the ones you need to focus on for now. Thank you and have a good day.